used, and maybe if I have to give a rating as to what is the effectiveness of this tool, then I would perhaps give auditing at somewhere 5 on 10. So we are quite retarded in utilizing this tool of auditing for various reasons, and we will be discussing that. And then you will understand that as to how you should be auditing in how you should be conducting internal audits in your company, and how you can conduct to your advantage. That means something that is the way it's supposed to be conducted and not the way it's being conducted now, right? So we'll be discussing that. In fact, when my book was released on 1st of July 98, I had by then already completed about 15 or 16 projects, ISO consultancy projects. I started about somewhere in mid-95. So I had completed 3 years of consultancy, and I had probably completed somewhere around 15, 16 projects. So, and these notes were being sort of penned down and while I was burning the midnight oil, while I was doing my consultancy in those 2.5, 3 years. So I would actually see the writing on the wall, and I knew that what the industry is will face the typical problems, and that is why when the book was released, like I told you, it became a chance author. I mean, it was not I never knew that it was so easy to become an author, but then it became easy for me because I met up with this gentleman who was a publisher, etc., and I landed up writing this and notes were converted into a book on the ISM code, right? And this book was about 95 pages, roughly 95, 97 pages. Just trying to pull out what you call the book itself. So, the book was released by what you have in Singapore, the CEO of MPA. We have an equivalent in India, the Director General of Shipping. So it was the chief guest, and he released the book in Mumbai. So we had a big gathering of 75 representatives from the industry. Half of them representing regulators like classification society, marine surveyors, and the other half representing ship owners and ship management companies. And most of the persons representing were on the managing directors and CEOs of the companies, right? So we have this big cocktail followed by dinner and all that stuff on that day. So the CEO told me a day before that you have to, since you are the author, you have to talk something about the book, etc., etc. And I was not mentally prepared to sort of face such a senior audience at that time. But anyway, I since I had, like I said, 15, 16 projects, and so I communicated with them. I told the regulators there, I said, in a nutshell, please remember to change your hat when you go for auditing, because you have so far been conducting surveys and inspections, which is fault finding, and you will be the same persons going on board to conduct audits, which is a fact finding, right? So it is easier said than done. Perhaps out of 10 surveyors, whether the marine surveyors in the marine department or whether surveyors from the classification society, out of 10, probably 8 would not change their hat, or it's not intentionally, but they were sort of built into such an attitude that they're always on a fault finding mission. Then I told the regulators and the other half, that is the ship owners and class, don't copy your neighbor's recipe. Don't pick up an SMS and change the header and footer, right, and call it your own. So I said, prepare your own SMS, prepare your own recipe. Even that did not happen. So you had a bunker operator using the checklist of the VLCC. So of course, then obviously, there's something wrong. So everything went haywire, right? So both are to be blamed. The ship owners and ship managers are to be blamed for not working on doing something on their own, and the class and the marine surveyors are to be blamed for fault finding and not fact finding, right? So this is that book, and it's been titled. I mean, this book is not pretty old, released in '98. So the safety management systems and under construction activity. Any particular reason calling it as safety management systems and under construction activity?
Because safety management, it is always keeps on changing. I mean, there cannot be any fixed rule. So it is always like a dynamic document.
Right, very good. So continual improvement. That means it's like it's never complete. The construction is never complete. Right, very good, excellent. And if I just want to show you the USP that I coined, this is the book, but look at this. This is the USP I coined in 1995 when I started freelancing. So at that time itself, I knew that if you follow good practices, if an organization follows good quality practices, it's going to pay you back by reduced failures, reduced incidents, and if you follow good safety standards, then automatically you have lesser number of casualties, incidents, etc. Right? So that's safety earned. Okay, so let me just close this. Okay, so. So we are going to discuss today about what you call internal auditing from a different perspective, right? And your involvement, everybody's involvement and opinion should be free flowing like yesterday. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. So we have now what is audited? Do we audit a person or do we audit a process or a system today? I mean, do you see auditors auditing a process or do you see auditors auditing a person? What's the reality? Anyone?
Yeah. Actually, it must be the process.
Actually, it must be the process. But what happens in reality? I mean, I agree with you that it should be the process, but in reality, what happens? I mean, does the auditor land up finding fault? Yeah.
We check the ship, we check the person if they are following the process, what they are mentioning on safety management.
Yeah, so you are checking the person when the person is following the process documented in the safety management system. So is that enough? If the chief engineer does not record a bunkering activity carried out in the month of January, misses it out, so then you blame the chief engineer, right? And give the non-conformity to the chief engineer, right? Ramanathan?
It is, there is also a scope to see whether where we can do this doesn't get repeated again, where we miss it. That's the reason for this audit out.
So Swaminathan, I like your comment when you say that there is a possibility to check whether there is a possibility of improving, right? So good. So at least you are open to the idea that there is something that is wrong with the process, and if it's happening on one ship and with one chief engineer, it can happen on other ships also. May not be with all, but with some chief engineers. So in other words, if it's happened in one place, there's a chance that it can be repeated, right, China? Yeah.
You are right. You are right.
Right. So, anyone else? Do you think we are auditing the person or we are auditing the process? Anyone else would like to any comments, any opinion that these days an internal auditor, you know, and then you can actually even say the external auditors, I mean, they may be slightly better in their approach because they have to, they have to script down the non-conformity and that's vetted by their superiors in the class office, and it is also audited by IAX. That is, IAX auditors come and audit them, flag auditors come and audit them. So they are a little bit more polished in their approach. But the fact is that it still becomes a little bit more of a fault finding and rather than a fact finding. Will it be correct or is it an assumption? Yeah, anyone? Yeah.
In my opinion, I think the audit what's that for the both
Yeah, sorry, what did you say? Can you please repeat?
for the
Audit?
audited, they checking the both the system process and also the human. In my opinion,
They're checking. You mean they're checking the human and the system also? Okay, let's go to someone who has recently disembarked from sailing, and so Bhaskar, you've been sailing for long, and you just recently stepped ashore, and even Captain Sergi is there. So let's take Bhaskar your point of view. So do you think there is more of you know? Auditing the person and the person lands up in a problem, the person has to respond to the office and things like that, the responsible officer, or is it the process that auditors focus on?
That's what I tell you.
It is more of
Before I become captain, I have different opinion, but after I become a captain, for me that's like a process, and that's a process.
No. I'm not saying what is your opinion, Sergi. And that's fine, you have an opinion. I'm saying what is the practice? What is the practice followed by auditors coming on the ship? Do they focus on the person or they focus on the process?
The process.
Auditors focus on the process, is it?
Yeah, I see the process.
Okay, so we will see as we move on, and then you can conclude when we move on as to what should be identified. Yes, go ahead, Bhaskar, please go ahead.
Yes, it is more of checking the documented procedures as per the company, and not looking into the individual persons.
Okay, so if the chief engineer is not updated the oil record book as required, whether it's weekly or whether it's bunkering. So the chief engineer there's nothing wrong with chief engineer, according to what you just mentioned, Bhaskar. There's something wrong with the process. Is that right, Bhaskar?
Negative, sir. In this case, it is the issue with the chief engineer also.
Yeah, so, or we can say it's very convenient that the chief engineer is chief. Okay. Now, tell me, Bhaskar, I want to continue with you for a while. So that means, will it be correct for an auditor to write a non-conformity, something like this? During the course of auditing, it was observed that the oil record book has not been updated for bunkering operations and weekly on board, etc., carried out in February or whatever. Full stop. Is that okay, Bhaskar?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Bhaskar, if it is okay, then who is supposed to update the bunkering, the oil record book? Chief engineer, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So we have taken the gun and fired straight onto the chief engineer. The process is thrown out of the window. There is no process here because we have fired the chief engineer. And what will the chief engineer respond? This was inadvertently missed out due to busy schedule. The oil record book should be updated and evidence sent to the office. Am I correct in stating that this would be the closeout?
The closeout report, yes, agreeing that the chief engineer has missed out the entry.
So he's going to write down that this was inadvertently missed out, accidentally or missed out due to busy schedule or something, and the same shall be updated ASAP, or the same has been updated, and that's the closeout. Am I right, Bhaskar?
In the corrective action, there is still, the missed entries can be made. So we can mention in the corrective action that this is done as per the missed entry.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that I agree with you that you put it into high category, India and all that. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
No, I'm not saying that. That's all done. You can smart is done, everything all completed. But that's the closeout of the NC, right? Isn't it? That means you have completed the updated the world record. So I'm sitting in the office, the NC is closed, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But then after 3 months, again another chief on another ship makes such a mistake. Right? Now that chief engineer again has to write the same thing. The world record book not updated, so he also does updated, sir, and we informs the officer updated. Yes, sounds good, Bhaskar.
No, it is not correct, sir. I mean, the repeated one, we cannot have the repeated observation again.
Yeah, so that means the analysis of the first itself was wrong. That means you blame when the auditor blamed the chief engineer. That chief engineer, I mean, otherwise he didn't use the term chief engineer, but it's understood that all record book is not updated by the book. It's not updated by the second officer, it's updated by the chief engineer. So all what was not updated in brackets by the chief engineer. So basically will it be correct to say that by and large, auditors inadvertently, I'm not saying intentionally, but inadvertently, unintentionally, tend to focus the non-conformity on the audit team and not this process. Right or wrong, Bhaskar?
Then how to figure it out? There is a mistake by, the crew members. It is definitely we have to.
No, we'll come to that.
Some observation.
We'll come to that. Not the problem. But I'm asking you, isn't it right that auditors tend to focus? We'll come as to how you can do that. That we'll be discussing that in the next 1 hour. But you tell me one thing: auditors, are they not focusing on the person, right? Generally, agree?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This case, yes.
No, any case. If we take any case. Okay, let me go another case, Bhaskar. I like this discussion with you. I'm going with another case. You go on
look at my opinion can.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm just taking Bhaskar one more than who's that? Alfie, is it?
Alfie.
Who's that? Sorry.
Appendi.
Alfie, 1 second. I'll come to you. Okay. I'm just coming to you. So Bhaskar, one more case. You go on board the ship, your internal auditor. Hello, Chief Cook, please come and start the emergency fire pump. And the chief cook is unable to start the emergency fire pump because although it's been familiarized on the paper, but that's it, he actually doesn't know where it is located. So now, what's the problem? Where will you are auditor, Bhaskar, internal auditor, please tell me. Third officer,
the comment will be one of the crew member was unable to start the emergency fire pump.
Right, okay, very good. So, you can put the cook, what is the problem? You're not putting the name, you're putting the designation. There's nothing wrong with an internal audit report. There is no problem at all by putting the rank. So the cook was, you have to definitely put the rank so it's very clear who's the person. Because remember, the traceability of a non-conformity is very important. If you just say one of the crew members, then when the entire crew signs off on that ship after 6 months, one of the crew members, who the crew member are, so we don't know who's the crew member because the auditor gave everyone signed off. So you have to write cook. So you will write that the cook was unable to start the emergency fire pump. Right, Bhaskar?
Yeah, then in this case, again, it will go like a loop that the familiarization is done when he joins the board.
Exactly.
And then safety training on board is not
on board. So Bhaskar, everybody on board is faulty. Third officer is wrong, cook is wrong, captain is wrong, chief engineer is wrong, officer is right. Yes, Bhaskar, that's the impression, okay? Am I right? That's the impression auditors give, right? Because they're only focusing on the cook. They only focus on the chief engineer not writing the whole record. They only focused on the third officer that you didn't do proper summarization, you only took signatures. So we'll come and discuss where to catch. Let's go to FND. FND, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, in my opinion, for ISM, ISPS, MLC audit, so the auditor should check on the system and process, mainly on facts only. So if there is any, like the first example, the Oracle book not done properly by the chief engineer, then we should not find fault at the chief engineer. I guess the difference between ISM audit and the what do you call it, SIA inspection. SIA inspection, they have a questionnaire. Then the main say the officer should familiar with this and this. So for internal auditor, it is not like that. So we as a auditor should check on the process and system only.
Right. Okay, good. That's good. Excellent. So by and large, internal auditors inadvertently, and by the way, I've been auditing since 1995, the ISO standard. So, and I've done number of third-party audits, number of second-party audits, and countless numbers of first-party audits. Right. So maybe over a few hundred audits, maybe 400-500 audits. I've lost track. So I mean, so that's like, but the fact is that the when I used to do the third party audits and the second party audits in a team, that means you have more than one person. You can actually see, that's when you actually get experience, but also you can see, how the auditing practices work. So I'm not saying auditors were not at fault; they were at fault. Auditors were at fault. That is particularly the auditors, and I say the class auditors, when they started off in the early 90s and mid 90s with the ISO standards, they were at fault. And it's not because they were at fault intentionally, it's just that the training was perhaps, somewhere or the other, they could not implement what they were trained. So, and it was a new topic, it was very new, so it took them a while to understand. And so some of them improved, but some of them continued their practices with it, like a surveyor. The surveyor is typically doing an inspection activity. Very important. Let's go to this particular slide. Understand what is the difference between a surveyor, an inspector, and an auditor, who all come into this category of inspection. BSc inspector, SAR inspector, class surveyor coming on board for inspection also comes in this category. Now they have a very important role. All these people I'm saying, the class surveyor, the BSc, they have a very important role. Their responsibility is to ensure that the vessel is seaworthy. They have a very sharp eye to check for things, and they can notice things which the ship staff, the captain, a very experienced chief engineer, captain, or a superintendent will not be able to pick up. But these surveyors, class surveyors, and PSC inspectors, and supposedly even the SAR inspectors tend to pick up very quickly because they're doing something like 15-20 inspections and surveys in a month. And their prime responsibility is to ensure that the ship is seaworthy and sails out from port A and reaches port B in a safe condition. So they have a very big burden when they sign the certificate, a class certificate. There is a burden on the head. If something goes wrong with that ship, and if the ship founders or disappears or sinks or whatever, obviously this surveyor will be taken to task as to you did the last inspection and did you not find anything wrong, right? So they have an important responsibility of ensuring seaworthiness of the vessel. So what is their job? They are interested in immediate repair. You take corrective action, fix things up. I have a very good eye. That's what the inspector says. And fix things up. I'm interested in whether it's working. If it's not working, I'm sorry, sir, you can't sail out. You're retained. Please fix things up. So we can't put you out at sea because you are unseaworthy. You cannot proceed to sea. So that's the job of an inspector, right? So what's the job of an inspector? Actually going around, with this, with the magnifying glass, going around with a magnifying glass, looking for faults. That's job, and that's what they're supposed to be doing, right? But the surveyor is the auditor is very different. Auditor is looking at some symptoms as he is looking at the root causes and not primarily at the symptoms. So we'll come to the right part of the slide later. Let's go back to this one. So the aim of an audit is to find facts and not faults. Right? So if the oil record book has not been completed, then the fact is that there is possibly a process deficiency which has led to this situation. If process failure or process deficiency, if the cook does not know, ask her, if the cook does not know how to operate an emergency fire pump, the cook is not an angel. There is a problem. The third officer is not an angel, but the process has failed in achieving its objectives. If the chief engineer has not updated the oil record book, he is not an angel, he is at fault, but the process has failed. The bunkering process, which concludes with updating the oil record book and the VDN, etc., that process has not achieved its objective. The process will fail. So until you don't tweak the process, until you don't amend the process, you will continue to have such failures, right? At the same time, the third officer and the cook have a job to do, close out the non-conformity, and the chief engineer also has a job to do. So we are not the audit. Good auditing practices do not, give freedom to the ship staff to get away, and they say, "Oh, it's not our problem, sir. It's a process fault." You see, Mr. Bhaskar and Mr. Redpetti, it's not our problem. You guys haven't written a right process. Sorry, you also have to follow the process. It is not that you have. But yes, if something is happening, then it's for the process owner that's sitting in the office to check out what is the problem, right? If it's a one-off issue, like one in a few years or something, then it could be something which may not be a process failure. It may be linked to a sort of a human error, right? It may not be a process. All good so far? Yes, Bhaskar, sounds good. We will be going to
Yes.
we'll also be going to Swaminathan. Swaminathan had initially put about what you call engineering procedures and engineering audits, and he was mentioning something interesting. And we'll also we'll also be discussing about some points where Vidayu has mentioned that during an audit, if the same audit, we are subject to more scrutiny, right? So an audit should not be called a scrutiny, but the fact that it's being called a scrutiny by by seafarers, that means the audit process itself has failed. It's grossly failed. It becomes like an inspection activity. So there's no difference between the audit and the inspection because it's being subject to what we call non-conforming. You've got to respond to the company as to what's happening. Why do you have these failures, right? And we also had Montero mentioning something interesting. Look beyond compliance. So we try and figure out what is this looking beyond compliance, right? And Alfie mentioned something very interesting that the ship's crew believes that the auditors are looking for mistakes. Now, these are very, very important. So if you're coming from one, that means it is by and large the industry is looking at it. Right? These are only sample expressions. These are sample expressions and they represent the industry. Okay, so let's understand on your screen you have this objectives of an audit. There is something like an average auditor 3-star and a good auditor 5-star. Now there isn't anything like that. If you go and Google anywhere 3-star auditor 5, there's nothing like that. It is only a term written by me to convey something about auditing practices. And I tell you something that of all the management practices in management systems, whether it's the ISO or ISM, one process which could have been implemented very well and could have been the advantage of shipping companies to minimize their failures, non-conformities, and incidents, but has actually the process itself has failed is auditing, internal auditing. Right? The internal auditing failure has resulted in what? Has resulted in a situation where we shipping companies and ship owners are paying repeatedly for failures, are paying repeatedly for breakdowns, and it's just become a norm. It's become a standard practice, right? So let me just go to somebody. Swaminathan. Swaminathan has been ashore since 2005. That's a long time. So it's almost 19 years. think it's